It plays a massive role, everything from setting bylaws and having the ability for a business to come set up, giving them the rules in which to operate, and also the way they're taxed and the way they're regulated. If we discourage just current businesses from operating here due to overtaxation, over red tape and burdens, they're going to leave, and new ones are certainly not going to set up. So the city plays a vital role, maybe sometimes too much, and I think we need to do a better job at actually making sure businesses succeed so that job creation can happen and we can diversify the economy. As seen by the oil prices, we need to get this economy diversified.
The city's role in economic development and job creation is to create an environment that supports entrepreneurship and businesses in a way that is fair and equitable. We must shepherd development by finding innovative ways to make sure infrastructure development keeps up with population growth and housing growth, which in itself creates jobs. Business cluster plans are a great way to promote small businesses, and it attracts like-minded businesses which will grow themselves. Studies have proven this. The city's role is also to keep an eye on growth and with a focus on the long-term picture.
I'm in the position of, I think that both the city, the provincial and the federal government need to be able to have an open communication, and from there go into even seeing what the private business owners have to say. I'm excited in terms of if Amazon was to come here, I think it'd create a huge potential, and anything else that involves the constituents of Ward 2, I'd like to get their information first before I can make any decisions, really.
The real question is, how can we do more with less? How can we think our way out of the current $170 million deficit? In order to do this, we have to go away from the spend it or lose it budgeting. It's not effective if a department doesn't need to use its entire budget that year but has to spend it in order to keep it the next year. This is not the best use of our tax dollars. We should allow that excess that they didn't need to spend in that year to cover the increased cost if we have a heavy snow year. So it's more about working together as a team with our accounting rather than keeping each department independent, and spend it or lose it is just not an effective way to solve this problem. City councillors also need to be willing to take a leadership role and freeze our wages until we can get this deficit in check.
In Ward 2, we have essentially 10 communities, 5 of them that I would say are more mature than the other 5. So every ward itself some will require more money, other in terms of new infrastructure. We've got to balance that off. Other communities will require just the maintenance of keeping those communities viable. And bottom line is keeping the constituents happy. I think they need to be happy. Transparent is missing. The transparency of what the councillors are perceiving or giving information to the public is very minimal right now, is what I find.
People-like services, we want to see all the services continue, but I don't believe we're getting value. So first thing I do as councillor is actually making sure we're getting that tax dollar, those taxes that you spend a lot of time on, stretched as best as we can, used as efficiently as possible before we go to raising a fee or raising taxes to pay for these services. Calgarians don't want to see their services cut, but they don't want to see tax increases. I think we can do a better job at using the money and providing the services.
To me, there's 2 issues. There is the battle between the current mayor and the owners of the Flames. It's almost like I'm not going to say an ego, but it's one wants one wants the other thing. So it's a battle head-to-head. Until I can actually go in there and see what the numbers are like and what everything is adding up to, it's got to make sense. Starting with the ward itself, like it's a large ward in terms of how much money can be involved from the citizens of Calgary themselves, and then what each side is willing to put in. But it's so we're in the dark right now. I don't think we have the real information yet.
It's a loaded question, but I do believe there is public precedent for public involvement in businesses. We use everything from the library to community rec centers, don't necessarily pay for themselves, but there is a community benefit to them. I believe the city has a role in at least looking at the numbers, seeing if the investment from the public money will actually make a community better. If it does, then I absolutely would support it. I think it should be a very clear and very defined contribution. It should be capped, so we're not putting ourselves in a liability or take on too much debt to accomplish it. We need to be careful and we need to respect people's tax money.
I think with the arena debate right now, we're too focused on the micro. We have the Olympics on the table, and right now we're just debating Ken King and Gary Bettman. If we were to focus and decide if we want the arena, we can get more money coming in to cover the cost of the arena and also get a stadium for the CFL. Focusing only on the NHL is short-sighted. If we go after the Olympics, we can go to Ken King and Gary Bettman in the NHL and say, we want the NHL players to be able to play in the Olympics, because currently there's a ban on NHL players playing in the Olympics. It's a great negotiating opportunity, and there will be more resources on the table. We can get more sponsorship funds, and there'll be a long-term legacy for Calgary. So just focusing on the arena alone is not going to find the solution that is best for Calgarians and what's best for our tax dollars.
The biggest issue is accountability and taxation. From door knocking, people are saying they don't believe City Hall's listening to them or respecting them anymore. Everything from fee increases on utilities to tax increases to projects that really are not benefiting them. I want to engage the public more. I want to make sure that we're actually respecting the taxpayer dollar. So I want to get spending under control and involve the communities and the citizens. We need to get better input and keep them up to date on things as well. Things like the arena project or other big spending items should be made out in the public so the public knows what's going on.
In Ward 2, we have a lack of transparency for what's going on with City Council, and that's been, in my experience door knocking, that was one of the biggest complaints I was listening to. What I would do is tell constituents after voting what facts I used, what research I used to make the decision, and explain it to them. Another issue that Ward 2 is facing is the growth, but transit not keeping up to the growth. So we have to look at what our overall structure plan, our master development plan, and our area structure plans, and make sure that when we are making adjustments to our area structure plans, that we are looking at the foundation of what the development was built on, and ensuring that all the services that were promised at the beginning of that development go along with it.
If you pick out of the 5 mature communities, would have to be Hamptons, the redevelopment of the golf course. And if you look at the newer areas, I think traffic's a big issue in the community of Evanston, going in, going out. They say poor planning. Well, that's an issue because it could have been resolved in terms of initially, looking at the overview and being able to see that. I'm myself in real estate, and I understand that there has to be an open communication from the start to the finish of anything.